Hey everyone, it's Ed. Welcome back to the channel. As many of you know, I have been exploring new devices, and I've got one here, which most of you may already recognize, and it is the ViWoods AiPaper. Now, a lot of you may be saying, well, Ed, why in the world would you be reviewing or even looking at the AiPaper? And I've been pretty critical of the AiPaper in the past, but not because of the device, more so because of their pricing strategy. And we'll get into all of that throughout this video. But this isn't going to be a traditional unboxing video because this is a review unit. I will be its forever home. It is going to stay with me. VWoods was very gracious enough to provide me with this unit, but also to say that I could keep it long term because I tend to do long term reviews and there are no strings attached. They don't get to see this video before it airs. They don't have any input into the content of the video. They just literally said in their email, they like the content I do, they respect my opinion, and they wanted to have me use the device and talk about it. So since it is a pre-owned device, I am going to show you what they sent me. So they did send me most of the original features, and then I'm going to kind of talk through it. I've already set it up, so there won't be that initial setup. I will say from the outset that it was probably the easiest of any device I've ever set up from a functional standpoint. You open it, you turn it on, and you boot it up. You just say you want English and it immediately takes you into the interface. That being said, it doesn't require you to do all of those auto configurations. And so you have to go in and do those later, setting your date and time in your region and all of those things that a lot of other devices walk you through on the front end. This one does not do that. So if you just want to get started and start playing with the device, that's wonderful. If it's frustrating a little bit to not have all of those settings done, and I take it back, there were two settings. There was the language and Wi-Fi. Other than that, it doesn't require you to do anything to get started. But with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's jump into this mini unboxing and first impressions of the AI paper from VWoods. All right, so here we are with the AI paper from VWoods, and it's a very interesting device to me. So this was originally billed as kind of a remarkable device. So a remarkable 3, if you will. When it came out, it had a very limited app store, which already in some ways put it ahead of the remarkable. Otherwise, it was really toned down. I mean, it was very simplistic. It didn't have a ton of features. And I watched all of the reviews at the time and really tried to figure out, who did this serve? And it had this AI component that didn't appear to be fully fleshed out. And there was this promise that they were going to deliver more in the future. And quite frankly, they have been delivering a lot of updates and a lot of patches and a lot of really cool things since then. Now, I always say that, if you set the bar low, you look really innovative when you come up. But the more and more I see of this device, the more I think that they're actually starting to get close to parity with a lot of the other devices out there. And they offer some unique things. We'll get into all of that when we do a full review. And of course, I'll do like I'm doing with the Note Air 4C right now. And I'll live with this device for probably 3 weeks or so just to see how I can work it into my workflow. But for this particular video, let's take a look at what they sent me. So as I mentioned in the intro, this was already a review unit. And ViWoods was very upfront with that, very honest about that. They said that, this was used by others. When I got it, it wasn't charged. I had to factory reset it. I did all of that. They were very helpful in helping me set up my ViWoods account because this was already bound to another account. Excellent customer service so far from them to get all of this set up. So I do want to give them credit for being extremely responsive. My interactions with them have been very good. This was already torn when I received the device, but this is what the package would look like if you received it. And they are very unique. They're similar to the Supernote in the fact that it's all cardboard packaging, which I really like from a sustainability perspective. But I like that, but I also like that they put everything in the package together. It's a small thing, but I like that this isn't in a separate package completely, the folio. You're going to see some scuffs and a few things on here. Just take that in knowing that this is a previously used device, and you'll see that here. I would assume, and every review I've seen prior, that this comes in very good condition, and it is a very well-made folio. It very much it gives you that leather feel, and it's even that bonded leather feel on the top. It's kind of rough. And then you get your pen loop, and of course, you get the unit itself. Now, I've already set this up for me, and we'll look at it here in a minute. It does hold really well in the case with the magnets, and it's very light. I will say that this is probably the lightest tablet I've ever held. The Manta is a close second to this. The Note Air 4C is extremely heavy, but this is a very light build. It's got the Carter 1300 Mobius screen on it. It is metal construction around the sides because you can feel the metal, you can feel the coolness of the metal, but very light, very well made. And even though this is a device that's been through at least a few reviewers, it's in really good shape. You can really feel the quality of the device. Now, I will say that it's very smooth, and when we get to the pen and we talk about that here in a little while, that'll come into play because unlike the Supernote and some of the other devices that have a kind of film over them. I mean, with the Supernote, it's the Furai 2. With others, it's usually some kind of etched glass or some kind of laminate. This does not feel to have that. And I am not able to see any kind of film around the side. And you will notice, and I've got some bright lights, that it's pretty reflective or pretty good at reducing glare. And I've got quite a bit of light around me with the new light kit that I have, but very crisp display. And this choice of going with the lighter color around, it really does do that optical illusion of making the screen look brighter. I don't know that it is brighter than the Manta because it's exactly the same screen. I've heard there is some coding difference, but at the same time, this really makes a difference having this bezel being a very close color match. You do have your charging port here. You have a microphone. I don't know if there are actually speakers on this device. We'll test that out at some point. Again, I'm just getting used to it. You do have your 3 buttons here, which you really can't see very well. And I've been having a little bit of trouble seeing them just on my own right. But this is your AI button, this is the home button, and this is your back button right here on the bottom here. The pen is very much uh, standard fare. It's not my favorite pen. It's not near as nice as the Books pen. The Books pen had weighting to it. This feels like a cylindrical tube. It does have an eraser on the back, and it has a button. Not sure my button works. I haven't been able to make it work yet, but I've only spent very limited time with the device, basically to set it up and to get logged into an account. It's pretty much all I've done on it. But I did want to be clear about the pen. It's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with it. I prefer the harder nib, which is what I have on here. I took that out of the device spine here. It has a little hidden compartment. And then I do have the loop, and I use the loop. And let me show you why I'm choosing to use the loop. It does hold in the case very well as far as the device holds, but the magnets on this are just really not very good. It holds a little better there on the top, but compared to what Books has on the Note Air 4C, it just doesn't hold very well. And you have to get it positioned just right to get it to hold it all. The pen loop, though, with that hideaway is excellent. And so I've chosen to kind of keep it in the case. It doesn't add a lot of weight in the case. Before we power up or turn on the device, it's already powered up. And let's look at the remainder of the packaging. And there's not a lot here, just a little bit, but you get your replacement nibs. So you get that. It includes the nib extractor tool, which is this piece right here. So you just place your nib in at the top, pull down. I've been able to just pull these out by hand. It comes with these nibs, which are kind of I don't even know how to describe them really. They're still plasticky, but they're not as hard as the nib that's on the stylus that I chose to use. And they only send you 2 of those in the package. I only had 1, but then they send you several of these replacement nibs, and you can buy replacements on their site. And then you have your quick start guide here. And then you have your USB-C to USB-A, I believe. Nope, it's USB-C to C on this cable. So you actually get USB-C to USB-C, which should make a lot of people happy. If you only have an A input though, you'll just have to get yourself an adapter. But that's the packaging. So there's not a lot of muss or fuss, which is kind of cool. I like the fact that they minimize the packaging to have it all in one box, to have it no plastic at all. Now, I'm assuming that there was no plastic on this device when it was sent new. I could be wrong about that because obviously I wasn't the first one to receive it. And if you have an experience with that, let me know. Drop it in the comments and say, hey, Ed, you're off base on this, because I want everybody to have the right information. So now that we've gone through kind of that mini quick unboxing, because it wasn't a full-fledged unboxing, let's take a look at the device itself. And it does have a fingerprint scanner, so I did enable that, and it's pretty accurate. I mean, it pulls in pretty quickly. One thing I have noticed is there is a bit of ghosting on the device from time to time. All right, so here is the device once you get to the home screen. And one thing this device has is a home screen. And I know that that's somewhat of a consternation between some of these devices. BOOX has a home screen. This device has a home screen. And of course, the Supernote does not, and it has different tools. But this has kind of a uniquely laid out home screen, I would say. It gives you the illusion of widgets when it's really pretty much everything that's over here on this left-hand side in this toolbar is replicated right here. So I don't know why they have it duplicated like that, but that's the choice they decided to make. And this is a visually appealing interface. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight here is this for me is a little confusing as a new user. I've looked at it a few times over the last day or so that I've had the tablet just to kind of acquaint myself with it. And once you realize that this is duplicative, it's not as big of an issue. But I kind of wondered, okay, what is paper? And I've seen other reviews, so I had a general sense, but until you experience it, it's a little different. So paper, there are going to be several options. So up here, you can just start and make a note. You can go to quick notes, which are some basic templates based on the folder structure that they have. So there's thinking, sketching, writing, analyzing. And if you go to your folders, you'll notice that they have folders there. So you can set that up in a very quick way. If you go back over here to papers, you also have PDFs. So they have a couple preloaded for you. They have a weekly plan and a monthly plan. You also have favorites. You can lock notes and have notes that are locked, and you can have notes that are tagged. So again, a lot of different ways here to engage with the device, but pretty cool in the way they do it. They give you some options, but also some structure. Since you're not used to the device, they give you the opportunity to engage with it in different ways. Now, if we go back out, then the next thing you're going to look at is going to be the daily, which is their calendar. And if you go into their calendar, and I'll do a lot with this because my friend David over at Tablet Tech has done a really good comparison between the calendar on this device, the calendar on the Supernote platform, and the calendar on the Books device. And in his opinion, this was the superior calendar. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that works. There are some things about this just right out of the gate at the jump that I really do like. It is supposed to integrate with your Google Calendar, which I have not done yet, but I will. It also has kind of these options at the bottom that are pretty cool. So you have your tasks, you can put in a task list, you can put in notes, and then you can create anything. So in some ways, it's similar to the Supernote in allowing you to create a note directly from the calendar, but it also has these other pieces, which are just different, and it's just getting used to that workflow. But the idea of being able to create and even generate supposedly an email from this using the AI feature, or go up here and set a meeting by pressing and holding and creating a new event by voice recognition. So there's a lot of stuff here, and again, this is very much first impressions, but kind of an interesting thing. I'm going to hit this home button here, and that'll take me back. Then you have meetings. So for some reason, they've decided to have two different note styles. So if you go into, and I didn't show this, so we'll pop in here real quick. If you go into paper, and of course I did that wrong. If you go into papers and you go into just the note, if you press the note, you don't get a template right out of the gate. But if you come over here, you can go down and change your template. And whatever template you want here, and they give you some different types and they separate them out. So they have quite a few templates that you can use to do different things. I kind of like that one because that's the perspective grid. And as many of you know, I've been trying to learn to draw, so that's kind of neat that they have one included. But so you have your templates, and they're very much in a different headspace. If you go back now and you go into meeting, and you go in to create a new note. And when you go to look at your templates here, they're very much business and meeting oriented. Now, I don't know why they couldn't have put that in one notes app. Maybe it's just the way they decided to segment it. It's a little confusing to me just because I don't work that way. I don't work within a meetings app and then another notes app. I have my notes be my notes, and then I use a folder structure. So for me, learning how to do this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. But there's nothing to say that's wrong. That's just the way it is. And again, when you go in, it asks you who's at the meeting and basically kind of drives that experience. Learning appears to be kind of your reading notes, your library, and you could have PDFs and EPUBs in here and read all of that. It gives you some of the files you can have, and then you can have some reading notes, and you can create a new reading note, and then folders. So again, they're kind of curating the experience a little bit for you. And I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong way here. Pickings, I'm going to have to get more familiar with. It does have pickings and screenshots. I'm not sure 100% what the pickings are. Again, there's no tutorial, so I'm going to have to actually go through and read and get used to the device a little bit before I go too in depth on this. But you can create a notebook here and add that in. You can also create some other things, and you get the same tool set and access to that home kind of navigation bar here on the left as well. And then finally, and this is something that's really interesting to me, it almost makes me not want to enable Google Play. And let me tell you why. So they have an app store and they come with some pre-installed apps. And what you'll know about me from watching this channel is that I'm not real needy when it comes to apps. I'm not a huge fan of putting too many apps on e-ink devices. It's just not kind of the thing I do. But this one comes with certain ones already installed that are pretty interesting. So you get obviously your app store that you can go into that they have more than this, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But look at what it comes with. It comes with Kindle, comes with Kobo, and it comes with Libby. The only one missing from here, and I don't actually own any books on the Nook app, but I keep it loaded just in case I wanted to buy something from Barnes& and Noble. But right now, all of the apps that I would think I would need are on this device. Now, I could put Obsidian on here, but I don't tend to use Obsidian on my devices. You do have OneNote here. I'll be interested to see what that integration is like, if it's any better than some of the others. And then you've got, some various others, but they do have an app store. And let me press on that. And it gives you a nice little declaration about they're trying to make sure they don't violate copyright and some different things. And, you get here CNN, Google Keep, GitHub, OneDrive, Outlook, Google Drive, Gmail. And this is all without enabling Google Play yet. You'll see Kindle's already there, AP News. I'm really having trouble finding why I would want to download Pocket for those who want to use magazines and different things here. You've got a calculator app, and then that's about it. So there's not a ton, but I kind of wish, and there was Nook. So Barnes and Noble's Nook. Part of me kind of wishes that they would have just left this alone. When this launched, it did not have Google Play. So I'm kind of wondering if they were really targeting that sweet spot between Supernote and Books to where they had what Supernote has been going for, which is this curated app store to be able to offer specific apps that work well with e-ink in an app store experience. That for me it seems very interesting. Now, this does enable Google Play and you can use it and it's moot at this point. But again, part of me is thinking, if I do keep this tablet long term and incorporate it into my use, yes, for the sake of review and talking to you about it, I'm going to enable Google Play services, which is very easy to do. But would I go back and turn those off later and just stick with the default apps that are available on the device? In my specific use case, the answer to that may be yes, because it's really a simple user interface. And then, of course, you've got your settings. And unlike books, it's very straightforward. There are not a lot of deep settings menus here. It's very reminiscent of the Supernote in that way, in that if you go into a setting menu, it's really clean, it's really simple. Even your pen settings, you can set sensitivity and other components. You can turn on or off anti-aliasing. The general settings, again, really quick, easy to see, security, the about page. I mean, it's really simple. And part of me is very thankful for that. And then here's where you can toggle on Google Play or Play services. Again, I don't know how much I'll use that. Once I toggle that on, I'll have to register and log into the device. I will let you know how that process is when we do an update on this, but this is just kind of that quick impressions. So now let's take a look at a couple of things here. Let's just go into a note. We'll do a meeting note because it's right here. And so here is the meeting note, and you got your toolbar here at the top, and you have a pretty simple toolbar. So you have your AI button over on this side, you have tags, you can lock the note. This is your page view. You can share from there, it looks like. You have your lasso, you have text, so you can add in text if you want to add in a text box. You have your eraser, and then you have your pen. And you've got quite a few pen styles you can choose from. I tend to like a fountain or a ballpoint pen, but the calligraphy pen is kind of cool as well. And then you've got pencil and brush and some other things here. And then you've got your colors. This is a monochromatic device and does not have a front light. I actually love both of those things. This is refreshing to come back to a very focused experience in that it is both Carta 1300 Mobius and black and white. So that is really nice with no front light. So it's very flush here on the bezel. But let's go ahead, and I'm not going to put in the attendee information or anything, but let's do a couple of writing samples. Now, one thing you are going to see, and I'm going to have to look and see what the refresh is and whether, matter of fact, let's pull down and see. Yep, let's refresh that. So it does have a full refresh. And now you'll see that screen is a lot wider than it was a minute ago. And I just wanted to do that because it was starting to build up some ghosting there, some remnants. But let's go ahead and try out a few things. So here is a sample of my writing with the calligraphy pen. And I prefer this hard plastic nib here, but I don't prefer this writing experience so far. Now I have to get used to it. I have to kind of experiment with it a little bit. This is better than when I was using the other nib style, and there is pressure sensitivity here, but it's not my favorite experience. The eraser works very good. So it's very sensitive and it really takes everything off really fast. But this pen and pen style, or the nib on the screen, the hard nib on the hard kind of glassy screen, isn't the best experience from a writing feel perspective. Let's go ahead and change up the pen type. Let's go with our fountain pen. Matter of fact, let's go with our ballpoint pen. I tend to like the ballpoint pen a little bit better. And then here is, and that is very slippery. Example with a ballpoint pen. So it writes really well. I mean, the sensitivity is very good. The accuracy is very good, but it is not the experience I'm used to with either Supernote or Books, quite frankly, on the writing feel side of things at first impression. Now, remember, all of this is caveated. You don't have a lot of other tools available. So you have different erasers, you have a stroke erase, you have your lock buttons, your lasso. I don't see any kind of shape perfection. No. Well, it did recognize the shape. So it does do straight lines. Yep, it does straight lines. But it is not getting the circle here. Yeah, it's doing some of it okay. But it's also getting some really, I don't know what that shape is. But yeah, so it is ahead in some ways of the Supernote in having this whole ability to recognize shapes. Let's go home because I do want to look at the calendar real quick, and then we won't spend much time in here yet because I want to do a more in-depth walkthrough of this. But yeah, here, I do like this particular thing. So you can have your task. So you could have task 1, task 2. Apologies for my handwriting. This angle is a little weird. And then, of course, there's an AI button here, and you can organize, generate an email, or open up a direct link to the AI assistant. There are other tools here, so you can add a page, look at a multi-page view, or share from here. And then you can have tasks, one spot, notes, and then you can, again, create anything here to have as well. And I'm guessing that would be tagged to the date. And then up here, you've got your daily, your monthly, weekly, and your daily view. You cannot write on the daily view. And one thing it doesn't have that I did notice is I can't create by holding down on an hour. I have to go over to the button here and create something. I'm curious when I get this synced with my Google Calendar if I'll be able to go to the daily view, long press, and open up that event like I can in the Supernote. So that's just something to think about as we go through this. And here's another thing that kind of looks a little similar to books is that you have this comes through on this widget here. Hey everybody, thanks for hanging in there with me. Welcome back. And this is a very interesting device to me, and there are several reasons. One, it's one that I've been really concerned about their pricing structure. And I mentioned, and I'm sorry I didn't do this in the body, but I want to talk about these final conclusions kind of as I've been looking at this throughout this experience with you so far on the initial impressions. The biggest concern I've had with ViWoods is around their pricing. So they're saying that this device is worth $799 and that it's never sold for that price. So let's be very clear about that. But they show it on their website for $799 with $200 off for $599, and they're running a special right now for it at $469. Quite frankly, anywhere between that $459 and $500 and a little bit, I think is fair. I think actually that's what the market would bear. I think that this is at first glance, very competitive with the Supernote Manta, with the Go 10.3. I would say the Go 10.3 actually is the best value right now at, I think it's $409 or $419. So it's a little bit more than, or a little bit less than this device still with the full package. And you can get this device either from ViWoods with a 100-day guarantee or from Amazon. And it's the same price either place. And if you're interested, do not take this as a recommendation. But if you are interested and you just liked what you saw here and you want to jump into the deep end and buy one of these, I would appreciate if you use my affiliate links down below. They help the channel tremendously, and I get nothing out of it but a small commission, and it changes your price not at all. So you'll pay the same for the device. But I really wish they would change their pricing strategy to be more in line with what I feel the device is actually worth. And I haven't analyzed all the features yet. I haven't gone deep into the weeds on anything yet. But I can tell you at first glance that it's not going to be more powerful than BOOX devices in the same category. It's not going to be more powerful than the Supernote in the same category. It's going to have some different functionalities and tools. And quite frankly, I think it is competitive with those devices. But I don't think that you could look at this and say that a 10.65, so it's bigger than a 10.3-inch device, same size as the Manta, but a 10.65-inch device is worth more on paper at retail than the BOOX Note Max. And that's what they're trying to say with that pricing strategy. So I've been very clear about that, that it's not about the hardware, it's not about the software, it's not about the company and whether it's a good device. It's about, to me, what is the device actually worth? And right now, I can tell you from first glance, it looks like this device is competitively priced for what it's actually selling for. And I hope that makes some sense and you understand why I make that distinction. But again, first impressions of this device, very favorable. The writing feel, not quite my cup of tea at first glance, but very much in line with some of the other tablets that I've used with the Note Air 4C. The difference made there is the nib and the nibs and the way that those spin. And I've already gone through one in less than 3 weeks. But the way they spin, they give you that tactile feel while recognizing that it's going to have a harder uh, surface. they just do that. Here you've got hard surface on hard surface. No matter which nib you use, one is more rounded and one is more fine point, but it still is going to be a hard nib on a hard surface. And that's going to give you a different feel. The reason I like this black nib more is because it's got some give to it and it comes to a finer point. It reminds me much more of the Supernote ceramic nib as far as size. And I wish they gave you more of these. But even if you order the refill kit, you only get 2 of these and then you get a bunch of the other more rounded ones. Now, I'll try both out long term as I'm reviewing this and trying to live with it on a daily basis and give you a more rounded opinion. But the pen, quite frankly, I'm not sure if this is going to be the pen I use or if I'm going to go with my Norris Digital Jumbo or if I'm going to, figure out something else. And no, for those of you who are my friends watching this, I will not be using a ceramic nib on this device just because until the jury is in on that, I don't want to run the risk of scratching the screen. But anyway, thank you all so much. This video is being recorded right before a live stream and it'll be released the morning of uh, with Kit Betts Masters, where we are going to talk about the Note Air 4C and kind of my change over from just focusing on Supernote devices. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please check out my links below. Check out my website. I just posted a new blog. Check out the things I use, any of those affiliate links. Happy to have you support the channel any way you can. No requirement to do so, but please hit that like, subscribe button. Check us out over on Patreon. And until next time, thank you all so much and keep on moving forward. Have a great day.